What's going on, everybody? First and foremost, I want to thank you for tuning in and watching my videos. I really do appreciate the support. I want you guys to join me along the way through this endeavor. It's an ever-evolving process, so I'm still continuing to find my voice, working on content, delivery method, things like that. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and finish our pre-workout, and then we're going to get into a chest and ab day. So we'll get some footage of that, and we got a commentary to follow. So see you inside. All right, so we are diving right into this chest workout. First movement of the day, incline barbell press. One of my favorite movements for overall strength and development of the chest. One of my biggest opportunities right now is my upper chest, like most people. So I'm really focusing on targeting that area predominantly, in the beginning of the workouts while I have the most strength to really help me isolate the muscle. Starting off with just the bar to warm up the shoulder joint, really be able to focus on the squeeze, work with my range of motion. One of my particular things with an incline barbell is hand placement, making sure that my hands aren't too narrow or too wide so it doesn't put too much strain on the shoulder joint. So I always like to do this and kind of feel it out with just the bar for a little bit, for a few reps, to really make sure I'm getting locked in, I'm in the right spot. From here, we progressed up to 135. Some visual cues, some things that I'm thinking about as well. Locking the shoulder blades back and down to maintain a nice, stable shoulder girdle. This allows me to emphasize just the chest and really take all the strain off of my front deltoids. Especially as the weight gets heavier and you start to fatigue, throwing those shoulders into play could potentially be a risk, and really, it's not ideal to have yourself in that vulnerable position. So really focusing on keeping the shoulders back and down. Also squeezing the chest at the top. You'll see that I don't go to a full lockout with the elbows. I'm really trying to limit the amount of work my triceps are doing, especially while I have the endurance that I do this early on in the exercise. So getting a chance to really squeeze, really focus on controlling the weight down, bouncing as little as possible. These are all things that I'm thinking about while lifting the weight. Additionally, as the weight gets heavier and as I start to kind of get towards the end of my rope, if you will, and I start to really feel myself tire out in the set, I'm focusing on squeezing my elbows kind of down and up, if that makes any sense, almost scooping my chest to really allow myself the extra oomph when it comes to getting that bar up. This just allows me to better position myself so that I'm not throwing my shoulders into position like I mentioned before, just because you'll find that it takes all the stress off of the chest muscle, which is what I'm trying to work in this position, and that's just one of those things that I personally work with, and it helps me. This was a day where I was working with sets of 7, so 175 was where we decided to go ahead and settle. We did 5 total sets. You just watched the first one. This is the 5th set that I did right here, and after this particular set, I did decide to do a drop set just to blast the muscle for one last bit of reps if I could, at least what I could get out. For me, in a deficit, in prep and everything, I don't maintain a large amount of strength. I do lose a little bit, but to be totally honest, I'm actually quite impressed with the amount of strength I did retain. Lifting heavy is definitely going to give me the most advantage when it comes to getting towards the end of my prep, just because I'm maintaining as much muscularity as I possibly can, really trying to minimize the amount of mass that I do lose as I start to deplete. So I was really excited with the fact that I was able to get this many rounds of 7 reps at 175. Definitely felt good about that. Finishing it off with 135, a weight that I'm pretty comfortable with. Again, isolating the chest, focusing on that squeeze, really making sure that I'm keeping it under control and not just banging the weight up and trying to just, finish it for reps. After this, we did move into a giant set, and you'll see it's actually going to be a combination of 3 different movements. We've got 2 fly variations and then a push-up variation. For the first set of flies, what we did was work with 3 tempos. Basically, what we're doing with the first one is a 2-second hold, and so I'm focusing on slowly bringing the weight down with control and then holding the squeeze at the top to force as much blood into the muscle as possible. And then again, we're controlling the negatives, that we're not overextending our shoulder. We're getting a nice good stretch, but not so much that we're putting ourselves in an uncomfortable position. We did 8 reps here, and as I'm pushing my hands forward, as I'm completing the fly, I'm focusing on, flexing the chest from the bottom up to really get a good squeeze and a good contraction and get as much movement in there as possible when it comes to the muscle fibers of the chest and really isolating them, trying to keep the shoulder out of it. The next variation we did shortly after the pause was a 3 to 5 second negative. Again, getting a good squeeze in the very top of the motion, controlling the weight on the way down, getting a nice long stretch, really trying to break down the tissue as much as possible. You'll find that in the majority of exercises that you do, your main, I guess, growth component is based on the amount of damage you do to the tissue during the eccentric or negative part of the lift, and so it's important to be able to incorporate that into your exercises as well. And then we polish that off with just one more set of your basic reps, if you will, just to kind of a no tempo push, just to be able to get as much blood in there as possible. 24 reps per set. Went immediately into this movement, which is a low cable fly, emphasizing the upper chest. Same thing kind of applies here, where you're focusing on the negative, really good squeeze. We're basically flexing from the bottom to the top. The difference, of course, being the angle of the arms allows you to accent more upper chest. You'll find in this particular movement, though, that you really need to keep the weight low and focused, because what ends up happening is you could throw your shoulders into the movement too easily, and ultimately it becomes, I guess, a front raise, which isn't what I'm trying to focus on. I'm really trying to focus on the chest. We did a drop set, so start off with 30 pounds and then drop down to 20. Again, keeping the weight a lot lighter allows me to be able to emphasize and stress more of the concentration with the muscle. I'm trying to focus on growth. I'm trying to focus on a pump. I'm not really looking to go super heavy in these movements, because as soon as the weight gets too aggressive, my shoulders come into play, my biceps come into play, and all of a sudden it goes from a chest exercise to a full body movement, which is what I'm looking for right now. And then we finish off this giant set with some weighted push-ups. I have my hands placed a little wider than I would normally do that, just to get more accent, more accent on the outer chest. And you'll see, if you can kind of tell, I'm trying to rotate my elbow inward. That's allowing me to get more squeeze. Again, same movement before, where we're going from the lower part of the chest and then flexing from the bottom to the top to really get as much blood in there as possible. I went 10 reps with the weight and then dropped the weight to finish off another 5. That was that first giant set. Did that for 3 total rounds. By here, I'm already gassed. The next giant set that we did, you'll see right here, this is a combination movement that I like to play with. It's a variation of an incline dumbbell press and then a close grip neutral press. And so we're basically going from one directly into the other. This allows for a few different movements to happen to the chest. One, you're getting that incline press, nice long stretch, good squeeze at the top. You're allowing the weight to come in, and as it contracts inwards, similar to a fly, holding that squeeze in the negative and then dropping into that neutral grip press to again focus on the inner portion of the chest. So I feel like you get 3 different movements in one, and so I really enjoy doing this. It definitely accents and focuses on a good portion of my upper chest. Jumped right into basically a decline push-up, or I guess a negative push-up. I don't even know how you would consider this thing to be named, but anyhow, used a couple dumbbells and just focusing on a 3 to 5 second negative, getting a good stretch and then squeezing at the top. By this point in the workout, obviously my chest is exhausted, so it's not so much how much weight am I pressing as much as how much control do I have. And then immediately after those push-ups, went right into an incline dumbbell fly. Same thing, controlling the negative, holding the squeeze at the top, and then I think we did this for 2 different variations. We had a rest pause at the top, or rather a pause rep, and then went into just your normal tempo. You'll notice with the flies, I don't bring the weight together. I find that if you kind of stop just shy of that, you allow the chest to maintain tension. If you end up if your focus is just slapping the weight together, ultimately you're going to collapse your shoulders, you're going to bring your biceps into play, you're not really focusing on how much work your chest is doing. And so by limiting the movement, you're allowing the chest to do more work. That time under tension is just as important as the amount of weight that you're lifting, how quickly you're lifting, and all these variables are important when it comes to the success of your movement. So I find that that's going to help in my development. The last chest exercise we did was a reverse grip barbell press, and you saw in my other videos I did this as well. This is a new movement that I haven't really done until this prep, and it's definitely a game changer. I feel it in a much different part of my chest, more lower chest. Again, still doing that same mentality where I'm scooping from the lower part of the chest upward. After the chest component, we went into our ab work and we did a little ab circuit. So here I have some weighted V-ups. I'm not really using the plate to try to emphasize how much I can crunch upward. my honest focus point in this particular exercise is my legs. So I'm squeezing my quads, keeping my knees locked out, slowly bringing the weight up and controlling it on the way down, keeping the emphasis on my lower abs. My heels are not touching the ground. I'm really trying to prevent the weight from falling on my hip flexors and really keeping it on my lower abs. I find that if you control the weight on the way down, it allows you a much better like burn in the abs, and I don't have as much strain or exhaustion in my hip flexors, and I'm allowed to really focus on where I want to target. By having the added plate, it allows for a nice long stretch of the upper abs as well. So when I'm in this bottom position, I'm stabilizing myself almost like I'm doing like I guess they're called boats and bananas, whatever it is, but basically a hollow bodied position that allows me to get full ab contraction. Immediately after that, we went into these oblique kind of plank variations. Basically what we're doing here is we're on the elbows, we're in a plank position, we're rotating the hip, and then we are doing an oblique crunch and then switching to the next side. There is constant tension in my core at this point. I like this movement because it really allows me to pull in the obliques without necessarily adding thickness to my waist. A lot of oblique exercises that I've looked at and things that I've tried really don't target them in the way that I'm trying to. I'm really trying to slim the waist, but I want to pull in as much of the outer abs as possible, and that's what's really helping in this particular exercise, because I get a chance to target those individually while still maintaining complete abdominal control. And then finally, to wrap up this particular ab circuit, we did a standard plank for a minute. It was the longest minute of my life. You know, when I first started doing abs and ab training and whatnot, I thought it was all about doing crunches and doing crazy knee raises in the Roman chair and doing all these you know, super intense Russian twists and things like that. But it really is as simple as just being able to control your sit-ups and being able to contract your muscles and really being able to make the abs work. And you don't really have to do as much as you'd think to actually get a solid ab routine in. So this is basically, you know, where I'm at now, is I'm doing very minimal movement, but I'm maintaining focus on the actual abs. So I'm isolating the muscle, making sure they're working, and then, I mean, I'm getting the result that I'm getting. So I'm excited about that. That's going to wrap up the commentary section of this video. Enjoy this next clip. Okay, so workout complete. Great chest and ab workout. Finished up a little bit of cardio at the end. So that is pretty much it as far as workout for the day. Other than that, we're gonna go home, get a little bit of meal prep done, get some food, and that is it. I wanna thank you guys for watching this video. Please be sure to like and subscribe, and let me know what other content you guys are looking for. Like I said, still trying to find my voice when it comes to this whole YouTube thing. You know, I really wanna focus on training, nutrition, and just, you know, my prep phase and all that. So thank you again for watching, guys. I really do appreciate it. You guys have a great day.